Let me, okay, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Richard
How
Poe.
are you?
Yeah,
Nice to see you. Thanks for doing this. This
How
is
are you,
good.
sir?
Appreciate it. Very well.
good,
Great.
good.
I'm glad you thought of me. I've been listening to some of your other ones, and all these guys have all these creative credits. I mean, I've been an actor for 50 years, so that's what I
No,
do.
we were just talking about your IMDb page, and we're blown away by how much work you've done. I mean,
You live
very,
long enough, you work at it long enough, you get a lot.
yeah, it's very impressive. We want to thank you for being on.
Yeah,
And we have some questions. What we basically do here is we like to kind of we kind of like to give the audience, especially anyone that's in the arts, sort of a guideline, a path, maybe how they can kind of maneuver their career in a way that, not to make the mistakes that I know I've made many mistakes in the industry as well, and kind of just guide people. So we kind of like it's a motivating kind of a show. We're very laid back here, and it's just a conversation we're having.
I'm liking that. That sounds great. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So I'm gonna actually turn it over to George. I know George has some questions to start off, and then we'll just get the show rolling.
All right, great.
Absolutely, absolutely. So again, yes, absolutely. Thank you for coming on. And so I want to talk a little bit about, first of all, I know that you started out in the theater.
Yeah,
From what I see, you had tremendous theater work. Okay,
Yeah,
so
a lot of years.
absolutely worked with a lot of great theater actors and that type of thing. So, take us a little bit through that journey, how that whole thing started for you.
Um, I was in the army, as a matter of fact, in
Mhm.
Fort Ord, California. I was a lieutenant in the army, and I had a executive officer who was a big, a major who was a decorated Silver Star guy, and he was also an actor. He acted in Carmel. You remember the Carmel is where Clint
hmm,
Eastwood used to have the
Yeah.
Hog's Breath Inn. It
yeah.
was a dinner theater restaurant, and he was working at that, and he got called to Vietnam like a week before he was supposed to go to Vietnam. I mean, a week before. I'm sorry, a week before he was supposed to be in Wait Until Dark. That was the show.
Oh wow.
Okay.
That movie.
Hmm.
He asked me because we'd gotten to be friends. He said, "You want to take over for me?" And I had done one play in high school, but that was it.
Right,
Well,
right.
I was interested. I said, "Sure, let's try it." And I'm
Yeah,
sure I stunk, but I got bit by the bug. Well,
yeah.
I did a
Oh,
few more things, and then I auditioned up in San Francisco at a place called the American Conservatory Theater, which still
Hmm.
exists. It still is very active, and got
Wow.
in, got a scholarship to their training program.
Oh wow.
And within a year, I was traveling the country with Dame Judith Anderson.
wow.
Hmm.
She was playing Hamlet at the age of 72. I know. Imagine like being a starting out actor, and that's your first big gig. First,
Holy cow.
so we traveled everywhere. We played Carnegie Hall. We traveled to all the major cities and played their major theaters. We were traveling with a company of people who had done. She had done Medea on the road to great acclaim, and now she was
Mhm.
playing Hamlet, and I was playing Rosencrantz of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. So
Wow.
what an introduction to the business. I mean,
Wow. I mean, that was like you got thrown into the deep end.
yeah. It took me a while to sort of like get the wrinkles out when I got back, or
Yeah.
oh my god, what happened to me?
That
Slowly
might have.
over time, yeah. Then things got. It took a long time to get traction. I mean, that was a
Mhm.
great sort of start, but then
Right.
it's a tough business. I'm sure
Right.
everybody's told you. If you can't do anything else, do it. But if anything else will please you as much, go for it because it's more
Right.
Right.
more readily
Right.
rewarding. But
Wow.
yeah,
That's awesome. And a lot of these theaters that you play in, I was reading them on the IMDb. Some of them are legendary theaters that have, theater companies, I should say, that have been around for like 100 years. Some of them,
yeah.
when you go into that type of a company, is it more intimidating depending on how established that theater company is than a more newer one?
Usually, it's all about the cast you're with. Uh,
Hmm.
Unless the theater is really full of itself in a not constructive way, once you get in the rehearsal room, you're starting from step one, and
Right.
everybody in a way, unless you hire a star that insists on being a star, you're kind of equal. You're all developing this thing together, which
Hmm.
is the great seductive draw of theater acting, and I
Right.
guess film acting too. I've done a bit of that. It's certainly not as much fun for me. But you get in
Yeah.
a room and you've got 4 weeks to develop this piece that you're going to put in front of people as a group. All of you are
Yeah.
responsible for it, and the exhilaration that comes from when it works, is just it's impossible to describe.
Yeah.
There's a sort of a subterranean joy that comes from it when you actually make moments work.
Yeah.
And so I started in 1970, and it never gets any less exciting.
Yeah.
And it's always different people, and so
Yeah. Theater is the big allure, right? I mean, if you get the theater bug, it's like, oh boy,
yeah, yeah.
there's no turning back.
Especially if you've got an aptitude for it, which I apparently had.
Hmm.
People gave me work, and you realize that you know how to make things work, and you get better at it, and it makes you want to get better. And
Sure.
by getting better, it means you get more relaxed in a funny way and more focused. That's the tricky thing, is because
Yeah.
you're full of anxiousness and desire to please, and actually being relaxed and being focused and clear is the
Right.
best way to get the best work out of yourself.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a bit of an anomaly.
Yeah. Now, going to like some younger actors, do you think an actor should always start off in theater? Because I've heard people say, like I know, you look at some actors like, on Al Pacino, very theater guy,
Yeah.
and then De Niro, who like doesn't do anything live, everything's been,
Right.
um, and
One play way back in the
way back. Yeah.
25 years ago, 30 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. For the most part, you're right.
Yeah.
I
So,
think, I think they're both equally profound arts.
right.
The film, learning to film act, I've scratched the surface only, but knowing when you have to give certain things, and when you can. This is a story. I worked with Hilary Swank. She was doing The Miracle Worker. We were doing that play in Charlotte, and we talked, and she said
Wow.
she's just done the Informer. No, the Insomnia. Remember the movie Insomnia?
Hmm.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Robert Williams and her,
Robert Williams and
and Al Pacino.
yeah.
And she was fretting because she had not done a lot at that point, and she's missed a line, or it was not in the right place at the right time. And he said, just relax. They got you standing up on that page. Now they got you turned around and saying that, and
It changes.
pieces. So he
Yeah.
says, take it easy. If you make a mistake, they've got enough on that take. They've got something. The
Right.
next time they'll get something else, and you can give them something else. So
Right.
if they do enough takes, and if you're in the position that she was in, which is co-star,
Right.
and Pacino, I understand, insists on this take after take until he's happy.
Correct.
Then you're going to get the whole picture. You're going to get the whole part done.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting revelation. Theater, on the other hand, once the curtain goes up, you're in charge, and there's
Right.
no,
Yeah.
the crew and everything goes away, and it's all on you, which is part of the excitement for a theater actor,
Right.
because it's really all about what you deliver, and you
Yeah.
have to keep this twin thing going, which is what your character wants and needs to do, and what as an actor and as a theater person, the audience needs to get. So
Right.
you have to have these two tracks going. You're actually telling the story and being in the story at the same time.
Right.
To make sure the story is salient. At the same time, you're trying to be that person as much as you can.
Correct. And it's such a different when you're working with a director on a film as opposed to a play, because the director is not really, once the curtain goes up, the director is kind of like,
He's gone to the Bahamas.
he's gone, right? He's done. But a director's always
There's a stage manager who sort of keeps track, calls
right.
the show.
Right.
But as far as doing it and making the story happen, it's all on the actors.
Correct. And then on set, did you ever, when you first kind of got onto a big set coming from the theater, that adjustment, what was one of the adjustments that you felt, oh, you know what, I need to kind of like,
You talk about sets like movie
film set.
sets.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Star Trek. You guys are big.
Yeah, we're Star Trek nerds.
I did that one part in all three of the series.
Yeah,
all the way back.
I think you're one of only 7 people. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
It's amazing.
John Delancey. Anyway, there's 7 of them.
Yeah.
But the first time I went on that, in a large part, they saw me in a play in LA, and they all came, and I had a part that was very showy, and so I got a lot of attention. I got a continuing part on Frasier for a while, and
Right.
Yeah.
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 on Star Trek, but they didn't know what to do with me. They did, I wasn't succeeding as a human being. They had a Cardassian come up.
Right.
Try this. Yeah, we'll cover you with all this stuff, and you'll be fine.
Wow.
So I did the scene. It was just a little. It was a photo. I mean, talking on a screen,
Right,
just like
right.
Right.
my character. And they said, "Yeah, you got it. We want you for this." So they gave me a name. My Cardassian's name became Gully Vec.
Right.
Yep.
I did, I think, 8 more episodes in all 3 of the series.
Wow.
Not 8 in each, but all together.
Sure.
But the big one was the first day I got on Next Generation, which was the next time I was really Gully Vec.
Right.
And I remember, sitting through the 3.5 hours of makeup, which is like getting a facial.
Oh,
It actually-
wow. Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
4 in the morning, and you
Oof.
see the person, you and the makeup guy in the trailer, and you're sitting there, and it's really kind of pleasant.
Oh, really?
Nice music playing. You're getting somebody messing with you,
Right.
all this stuff on you. It's genius, that makeup, by the way. It's all
Yeah.
so that it fits everybody. It changes your face using your own, physiognomy, but it's placed in such a way that it works for everybody.
Hmm.
Wow.
In any case, I'm all dressed up. I got all this stuff on. I got that the costume was basically like a wetsuit, rubber wetsuit. When you walk like this, so it actually adds that sense of I'm a big ass guy.
Yeah, authority.
I that, and I realized this is going to be Patrick Stewart and the other guys, and it turns out it was the biggest scene in the movie. And in that particular episode, it was
Wow.
a climactic scene, which I did first. So I was blanking on the guy's name, the guy who actually did the original pilot for the new Star Trek. He was directing this episode. I'm sorry, I can't remember his name because he was a great guy. But I'm standing, we're doing the first scene, and it's all this thing about we can't go to war because we've got to stop, and it's my possibility. I got to call the men off that are going to blow everything up, and he says it's our one chance to do it. And I have this thing where I say I lost. And I call them off, and I said I lost two of 3 sons in the war, Captain. I don't want to lose another one. In this big, dramatic scene.
Yeah.
First one out of the box. I was scared.
Wow.
Well,
Wow.
we actually are doing it, and we're doing the scene, and I get through it, and I hear cut, and I'm thinking, Jesus, it's me, And they said, "Hey, get a camera flare there. Come on, push that thing back, So it wasn't me. I'm gonna go. So he comes over and says, "Hey, it's great. Didn't they have no notes, anything?"
Really? Wow.
Yeah, did it again, and I was like, "Holy, I really, I got blooded there. That's great." So I did several more. None was more exciting than that because it was first of all, with Patrick, who being a theater guy, and that's where it was just great. We talked.
Yeah.
I heard you mention about the way he delivers his lines. I know. You said something about the way he talks.
It's placement.
Yeah, exactly.
That's sort of in front of the mouth, where it's just percussive and clear. I practiced it. I can't do
it.
That's awesome.
We Yanks don't have that.
That's so great.
You do, but they don't do the training.
Absolutely. Yeah. Were you familiar with the franchise before you went on it?
Got to be honest with you, no, I wasn't.
Okay.
I wasn't a Trekker. I'd seen it glancingly, and I admired it. I thought it was. I've always admired it because it has great ambition. Mm-hmm. And the goals of the people involved are benign and adventurous, well, obviously. But I mean, everybody's trying for the best for mankind,
right?
Even with the villains and everything, there's always a striving. And many shows nowadays, anyway, can be a little dog-eared, a little bit like, we're going to show you the seamy side of life, which I like too. But the great thing about it was it just had that sense of grandeur, as
Yeah.
well, I kept screwing up a line, and Patrick said, "Well, you're dealing with Star Trek speech,
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Right. We were talking about that earlier about how the dialogue in Star Trek is you really need really well trained theater person, in my opinion, like yourself, to really deliver those lines because not only are you delivering lines of jargon of space stuff that doesn't exist, but you have to make it very believable in an environment that's you have to make that environment very believable, and it's really a challenging thing.
Yeah, you're right. I remember you say, "Let's go to space." You're looking through the big window. If you really look down, you'll see that there's like coffee cups.
Right. Don't tell us that.
Talk about reading your imagination.
We think you were really in space.
Yes, I did too for a second until I saw
Yeah.
that camel.
So George and I started this idea. We actually have branched off into just having conversations about film, music, health, and life in general.
Yeah,
But originally, we started a Star Trek kind of a talk because we grew up. George and I are cousins. We grew up together, and we were musicians. We played in a band together. We recorded records, and we did some fun stuff there.
yeah,
And we always talked about Star Trek, but we talked about Star Trek in a different way, almost exactly what you were just saying about how it has this hopefulness.
yeah.
We grew up in the Bronx in New York City where, things might not be as hopeful as when you're out there. And Star Trek just provided a future that seemed like something that we can, strive for as humans. And it kind of gave us hope. So we wanted to kind of take Star Trek, and one of our mottos for the show was, Star Trek, between Star Trek and everything else. We wanted to take Star Trek and then combine it and build a bridge between Star Trek and just life in general. So we would try to the moral of the story, so to speak, and add it into our shows. And whenever we spoke to anyone from an episode or from a show, we would also talk to them about what did they think about being part of something that so many millions of people have. And of course, George and we love the show. We're not like crazy about, we don't dress up
We don't
and
dress up and walk around
we
or
don't
anything
dress
like
up in like in our
I've been to
homes.
a few conventions, so I know.
Right.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
you've been
right.
to conventions, we love it for what it is, and we love to support it. What do you think about that whole being part of a franchise that really is a, a really positive hope for man?
It's interesting you say that because we're talking about conventions. I went thinking, Jesus, it's going to be like, it's a bunch of weirdos, man. Maybe I'll make some money from signatures, but the
Yeah.
sooner I get the hell out of there, the better. I loved it. I
Oh,
loved
that's
it
cool.
because even people who are, you look at them, you go, well, that's pretty marginal, man. You're
Right.
out there. They're just full of love. They're
Yeah.
full of love. They're just happy to be there. They're happy to be exploring this phenomenon with each
Right.
other.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it is a true phenomenon in the real sense of that word. It's like the Beatles. It kept going,
Yeah.
and
Right, right.
so many permutations. So many people have been involved as actors and creative people over the years, and it's continuing.
It
It's
is. Yeah. There's still
remarkable.
new stuff. Yeah.
Remarkable.
New things being put together every day.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I wanted to ask you about when you were playing the role of Gulliver, because we were talking before the show how first of all, I felt that because there was not many Cardassians characters in Next Generation, there was only a few here or there. I felt that you defined that role. Okay,
No.
because like in the later series, Deep Space Nine and stuff, you got to see a lot of Cardassians and stuff like that. So,
Right.
but you brought this kind of really authoritative type of character to it. Was that just by design? Were you allowed to play it that way, or how did they give you that?
Nobody approached me about it. I mean,
Huh.
the little screen piece I did. I was just talking about the voles, as I recall. It was we were going to let them loose on Federation property or something, and that was just a guy being needly.
Mm.
So there was no indication of how he should be. But once I put that costume on,
mm,
and I look like that, and that
Yeah,
hair,
it changes you.
it's like a hair on a bad day, you know. Down and back. I knew exactly where this guy was coming from because when you walk with that basically a wetsuit on, going down the back, and you've got that look, and everything is moving, and the shoes are you feel like you could walk on the ceiling with them. Like
Mm.
Wow.
it just does something to you, and especially
Interesting.
the writing does it too. You say,
Yeah.
look, these people can't be here. And that particular one, the first one I did, kicking the Indians off the reservation,
Right.
literally. Um, it just does something to you. And I've always had all the parts I've done since then in theater have all had that sort of, I don't know, stamp of authoritarian.
Yeah.
Mm.
Right.
The
Right. Right.
boss, the judge, the this, the that.
Right.
I just that comes to me naturally. I've played other parts, but that's one that I kind of wear like a glove. So it was, in a way, it was kind of easy.
Yeah, we definitely felt that
Yeah.
that everything after that, you defined what a Cardassian should behave like, or at least their
No, right.
mannerisms, and it went from there for sure.
It seemed like that in the writing. And the guy who cast me, or it was, I guess somebody, the first costume guy said, "Oh my, you got a face for this." You know, it was
Wow.
for the Cardassian, that sharp. I have a sharp face, long
Right.
neck. It just kind of made it, made it work, and with all that stuff on and
Yeah, yeah,
accoutrement,
yeah,
it was looked pretty severe.
yeah. It'd be hard to make me a Cardassian. I'm a short Puerto Rican, so I don't see that happening.
I'd like to see that guy.
Maybe a Ferengi.
A Ferengi, yeah, he would
Yeah,
definitely work for a
definitely.
Ferengi.
I've always envied those guys. One of my best friends is Johnny Phillips, or Ethan. You know him as Ethan Phillips.
Oh, Ethan Phillips, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, sure.
We've done a couple of shows together. And,
Oh, awesome.
yeah, he's perfect for that look. You know?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, definitely.
I wanted to ask you about a little bit more technical things on, being in the industry as a veteran. When you have early on the technology to shoot films, for instance, and then moving forward where technology now has gone digital, where you had film, you had, does that change? Is that something that you've noticed the change in, as far as like you can do more takes because it's digital?
That definitely, yeah.
Yeah, and that's, you can mess around a little bit more. You can try things that you probably wouldn't
It's a
want to try.
revolution. It's a revolution. I mean,
Is it?
the digital is a revolution. Just the
Yeah.
fact of it, that there's no film required. There's no developing. There's no like film cost. Any of that stuff. You didn't like it, redo it. Do it again.
Right.
Doing it infinitely.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know Scorsese doesn't like the digital. He's only shoots on film.
Old guard. He's used to one thing. He's used to the look of certain things. And,
Yeah. And I think also he made a good point about how if everything disappeared and we had no digital displays or nothing to show any digital, the only thing that we would have is we would have the actual celluloid that we can actually flash a light through, and we can still see films.
Yeah.
And it's the only thing that actually would survive. Would
yeah,
be
if ones and zeros suddenly failed,
the one. Correct.
That's stuff there.
We still have that there, yeah, which is interesting.
I mean, it's the difference between go ahead. I was going to talk
Yeah. It's getting the technology also is at a point where it's becoming very difficult for people to tell what's a film and what's actually digital now.
Yeah.
I expect it to get to the point where you can't tell at all at some point.
I don't think it's a come down. I don't think it's like, oh, we're fooling people, or it's not as good.
No, I don't think so at all.
Just it's a new way of doing it, and
yeah,
I don't think we've lost much. But then I'm not an expert. I'm not a Scorsese, so
right. But I also think that it also gives opportunities to more stories being told. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we do. We tell stories. Right.
Which is the final, the most important thing I've discovered over my years as an actor is that what you do is stories. That's the important thing. I mean, if you get involved in showboating or telling another story that has nothing to do with the immediate thing you're trying to deliver, you've gone afield. You're not as good. So it's just a matter of and that's the great thing about theater for me is all of us get together and put our shoulder behind telling this story.
Right.
You get to the point where you can actually feel, and this is what movie actors can't get. You feel the audience get it, and get moved by it. And
Right.
as you do it, there's just nothing, no feeling like that in film and TV.
It is a great feeling. I'm a filmmaker, and one of the best feelings is when you're in a theater and something that you did is playing, and it gets a laugh right where you intended it for it to get a
Yeah,
laugh.
not a great,
And it's also a surprise sometimes when you get a laugh where you really didn't intend it to get a laugh, but
yeah. Well, you
I'll
hope that
take it. I'll
you're
take it.
not laughing at it, that they're laughing.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. It's a wonderful feeling. You're right. I
Yeah.
remember as a child watching Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and he had an episode where he actually went and talked about films, how they actually get made and shown, and he showed the whole projector and all the stuff. And
Yeah.
it was my first time I realized, oh, this is a machine that people get record something on. I didn't know. I thought it was just some magical box that just shows images, and it was the first thing for me. What was the first thing for you that you realized that's what I want to do? Or was there anything when you were a small boy that really storytelling got you?
This is going to date myself here. Somehow my parents took me to see The Robe with Victor Mature.
Wow.
This is a while back.
Right.
It was Richard Burton's first movie. That tells you how long ago.
Okay.
But I remember coming back and thinking, God, he looks so full of life, and I remember going to the bathroom and taking like not cold cream, but Noxzema, or no, what's the stuff, the Vaseline,
Mhm.
putting it on my face, the way he sweated, and looking
Ah,
in the mirror and going, oh yes, and saying some of his lines as a like 7-year-old.
yeah,
Banal example, but that was kind of it.
yeah.
Also, but there were other times too when I
Right.
saw performances by people came to schools. I thought, oh my God, that's so nice. I really enjoyed watching him.
Yeah,
So it stayed with me, knowing that people really enjoy it when it happens. We're all
yeah.
watching other people live, as long as that's what they're doing.
I love it.
Absolutely. And one of the things that you guys were talking about and it brings me back, I look at it from the musician side of things. Playing live, in front of this audience
Yeah.
is the
Yeah.
ultimate adrenaline rush, right? Is when
Exactly.
when anything can happen. And this is where, like you said, you get that response from the audience versus like if you're in a studio recording, okay, you can do it a million times, but live is the thing, right?
Right.
And I'm sure when you compare it for an actor, it's that same concept.
I mean, in your part, you got a moment coming, and no actor can resist this. Where this is going to be my moment. This is my scene. I have this great thing I get to do, and the trick is to forget that, get out of your own way, and think the thoughts and tell the story. But when you get in the middle of it and you realize it's working, and the people are tittering, laughing if it's comedy, or you can feel like they're feeling with you.
Yeah.
There's nothing compares to it. It's
Yeah.
because you've given yourself up to this material. It's you hopefully hidden inside it almost.
Yeah.
And you're all living through it together. So there's the audience. The cliche is, the audience is as important as the actors, and it's true. It doesn't exist without them. It's like you send it out there, and it has to be received, and then it turns into something else. It's a group effort. That's the one thing that film can't offer.
Right.
That's most talented people in the world.
Yeah. And it to me, yeah, I think it's the highest form of storytelling. I mean, I don't think it is. I know it is the highest form of storytelling that you can do because it's been going on for thousands and thousands of years.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that's ever going to replace well, maybe we'll have, robots or something doing characters.
The exact opposite of what we're
Oh
talking
God.
Yeah. Right.
I hope not.
We actually are we're doing something in the same room. That's it. We're all in the same room doing this thing. You guys just listening and watching, and we're doing it, but we're all creating it because it takes the imagination to do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Which reminds me, you probably noticed I said I do audiobooks. That was my first memory, listening to TV, to radio stories being told. Because you make your own pictures.
That's right.
Yes.
Everybody does. So now when I do an audiobook, I realize the pictures I'm having are not what anybody else is going to have. They're going to have their own setup.
Correct.
They're going to have their own reference things that they're finding, and they're going to be moved in ways that I can't even conceive of.
Yeah.
That's that's the amazing thing about, what's the right word for it? Something that affects many people at the same time. The
Yeah,
same is true with film. I mean, you just watch a performance, but then it's so literal. You're not seeing pictures in your head as much.
right,
Something
right,
about the audio experience that you paint the scenery yourself.
right, right. And in film, the painting is sort of made
Uh,
for you,
right.
but with and that's why I think radio also still, everybody says, well, radio is gone. Radio is not gone. Radio is actually pretty popular. And why do we have thousands of podcasts right
Podcast,
now
yes,
Exactly.
exactly.
where
Yeah.
people want to hear? And there's a whole industry of those audiobooks that you mentioned.
Yeah. That's
It's
so gigantic.
huge.
So
It,
gigantic.
it's huge. People
And it's
listen to these
yeah,
things.
it's
It's
the
great.
same thing. It's like what radio used to be. Radio dramas used to be. Now are full length, and you can listen to them in your car, and you do the same thing. You paint those pictures, or
Yeah,
have them painted for you, and you have to imagine them. So it's like
right.
reading.
Yeah. And those audiobooks now are not what they were, where, just someone reading the book. Now there's not special effects. There's actually audio effects and
Yeah.
the
Right.
whole thing. It's just
Right.
it is a wonderful thing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is there a character that you enjoyed playing the most?
There's about 4 of them that I could do again now and not regret it at all. I got just to toot my own horn a little bit. I got the Barrymore Award from Philadelphia Theater about 15 years ago, Best Actor for the year, in this thing
Wow.
called Outgoing Tide, written by a
Mhm.
friend of mine. The character was in it all the way through, and he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's and could tell he was falling apart. And he was an old, was a tough guy who was, had a trucking company and was nobody's
Mhm.
fool, and has been taking care of himself and taking care of his family all his life, and watches himself losing it and
Wow.
fighting. His wife says, "You got to go to a home. I'm not going to do it." And, the whole play was that dynamic of what he's going to do. He realizes he has an insurance policy, this double indemnity that he took out by accident. There he has it, and he's going to go out with this $500 bottle of scotch on his boat and fall overboard, so that his wife and son are taken care of. Which sounds, like, okay, yeah. But to be able to play that, to go through the
Wow.
decision when he makes it and say, I'm not going to do it, and she's going to say, no, you're not. And it was a wonderful play.
Wow. That seems challenging. Yeah.
Yeah, what was his name? John Mahoney. Remember John
Mm-hmm.
from
Yeah.
Frasier and Lemonade?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
He
absolutely.
did it originally, this part, and I did
Oh,
the
wow.
second version of it.
Wow. That's so
Beautiful
cool.
play. So that was one. I've done great ensemble pieces. We did on Broadway. We did a thing called Journey's End. It's an old 1920s play written by a guy who had been with a company going to the Battle of the Somme in World War One.
Hmm.
And he got ill or wounded, I can't remember what, just before the Battle of the Somme. And all the guys he knew went in and all got killed. And he wrote this play from memory about what the experience was like. It was all set in a foxhole, basically a bunker, underground, dark.
Wow.
And the things they talked about, and the things that happened, and the things they had to do, and what it was like to survive, but all full of like great heart and humor. A wonderful play.
Hmm.
We loved doing it. We had Hugh Dancy, Hugh Dancy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And who else was in it? Stark Sands, maybe you know him. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
But we won everything. We won the Tony, the Drama Desk.
Really?
We even won the Easter Bonnet contest. We did the best skit in the Easter Bonnet contest.
Oh.
We won. That wasn't the gauge of it. It was just this great, tight, wonderful ensemble.
Wow.
I played a smaller part. I was the colonel who sent them out on a raid. A couple of 3 nice scenes, but so that, even though it wasn't the best part necessarily, it was one of the best experiences.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah.
And you played with one of my favorite actors, John Lithgow, in Butterfly, right?
Yeah.
That must have been fun.
He's such a great guy.
Yeah.
So bright, and we did it. I was covering him. I was his understudy.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Pizza part, and I went on for him a couple of times. My first big, talk about a big thing. Um, it was the 99th and 100th performance of this play, and he had blown his throat out, demonstrating how he had to talk to his kids, and he hurt his throat and couldn't go on.
Oh no.
Wow.
And dare I say it, they all said, "Yeah, it was a triumph, man." I even got reviewed, which was wonderful, because it was a fantastic tour de force part. I'm not sure I was not as good as I'm trying to remember it myself, but it felt pretty damn good. Yeah. But
That's
John
good.
is a real sweetheart, real good guy.
Right.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about, this industry is it's so broad now. There's so many channels, there's so many shows, there's so many networks, there's so much stuff. If someone came to you, a young actor, for advice, where should I start? What's one of the first things that I should do? Is that a question you can answer honestly?
No,
That's what I thought.
I can't. If I had to start now and try to figure out my TikTok rating, and it's just like agents need, they need to have the social
Yeah.
media presence. I would say this is not why I got started this.
I know.
I'm not saying that's the only thing that happens. I mean, I would say the joy of it is in the work.
Correct.
And by that I mean the moment-to-moment exploring of a character, and the accidental things that happen to you while you're working, and when the pennies drop and you actually made sense of a scene that was not making sense for you. All that is the only thing that's going to sustain you over the long haul. That's the only reason to continue, because it's too
Right.
hard otherwise.
Yeah.
I would say get a good teacher and explore the work for itself. What the inner stuff, the focus required. I mean, how to develop the focus,
Mhm.
how to and use how to use your imagination, because we forget how to exercise that and get that working for you, because it fills you.
Yeah.
A person who's filled with the joy of doing it can usually withstand a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
I think I did. I mean, I never despaired, even though I spent years with no money, and I would say I didn't start really having a decent amount of money until I was 35.
Mhm.
So it just, but I so loved exploring characters and making things work that that sustains you. So learning how to do that,
Yeah.
rather than getting popular or learning how to be a star, it really kind of, if you can do it, great. But it doesn't leave your feet with many places to stand.
Right.
You're so busy exploring the outer stuff that you can't take joy in the living through part. It's
Right.
not very well explained, but that's the idea.
No, I totally get that. No, it's very well explained. I think I heard Morgan Freeman say something similar. He had also, I think he didn't really get, you know, um, until he was like almost 50, um, to get that big role, or but he was always working and
Yeah, yeah,
always doing something, but because he loved it so much,
exactly.
and I've heard also Dustin Hoffman say it. I think he talked about, was it Picasso? I think it said that if you take away my paints, I'll use my pastels. If you take away my pastels, he's like, I will spit on my finger and
Yeah,
paint on the wall,
the
like
need to do it.
he's just gonna do it no matter what.
Right.
It
Yeah,
really does take that determination, especially in today's crazy TikTok world, because I think a lot of talent gets lost because they're competing with TikTok things that,
crazy. I mean, craziness I think they wouldn't even mind TikTok as an idea that I called it that, because
no,
it's
it is
all off the wall
craziness.
and constant, and it's
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's also not even a place where you can really be showcased, thoroughly, or at least, um, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like a place. I will, George and I are musicians, so
yeah.
music today gets picked on TikTok, and I wanted to ask you a little bit about technology and what you think of it. But like people, like record companies, they'll look and see what's trending on TikTok, and they'll approach that artist, and then they will take that artist and they will give that artist a little bit of money, and then that artist will blow up for a week
Hmm.
until the next one comes along, and it's just this conveyor belt of these poor kids that kind of get put through this ringer. What are your thoughts on technology and how this current
Yeah,
insanity?
I'm lost in it, frankly. I
Yeah,
mean, I don't. I appreciate it in a way in that it's so quick and so facile, and and so entertaining in a small sort of
very quick way. Yeah.
yeah. But as far as personal involvement, like you guys, when you play a song, you play the song.
Right.
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 You play it all the way through,
Right.
and
Right.
people listen, and that's an experience you share with other people. The shortcuts, and a commercial is what, a 30-second commercial is like
Mhm.
45 different separate cuts
Right.
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 just to make you buy something.
It's like
So
Hitchcock's film.
yeah, so that experience of living through something, as I mentioned before. I think that's vital. I think it's maybe something we're losing a little bit.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely do think it is being lost a little bit. Just especially you mentioned something earlier about exercising your imagination, which I thought is exactly what TikTok, and all these other platforms don't really give you much time to exercise your imagination because it's so instant and it's given to you. These songs and
Right.
these
It
little
takes
dances.
imagination to come up with them. So I will give it that.
Someone did.
But yeah, I
Yeah,
I'm so inexpert with it, and I don't know anything about it. So I really
yeah,
to put it down is wrong for me because I don't
yeah, yeah. I'll put it down. I know a lot about it. So I'll put it down for all of us.
designated for that.
So do you still get lost when you're watching a new film for the first time?
Lost in it. In the
Yeah.
Oh yeah, if it's I just
Isn't it amazing?
watched Belfast last night. I don't know if you've seen it.
Oh,
Oh
I haven't
wow.
seen it. I haven't seen it yet. No.
It's beautiful,
Yeah,
beautiful.
I have to
It's so
watch
well
that.
written and so well done. Judy Dench is just terrific. That's one I just like. Oh, you're taking us there, though. Oh my God,
Wow.
that's great. Oh, isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Isn't it amazing that even having been on set, you know how things are made. You still watch these films. I saw The Irishman, which I've seen it a bunch of times, but when I first saw it, it's a 3 hour film. You think, 3 hours and like 15 minutes or something. It flew by for me. I
yeah,
was so mesmerized by these characters, some of them
yeah,
insane, some of them very rational, and Scorsese's direction and interesting cameras. But I didn't really notice any of that until I watched it like maybe the third time when I got to say,
yeah,
oh, it's interesting, but it's amazing that there's still hope for storytelling in this in this
yeah.
age.
I mean, it's the movies that make it. Uh, I mean, yeah, the blockbuster is okay. The stories is pretty simplistic,
Yeah.
but
Right.
they're there to make money, and they're there
Yeah,
to entertain young kids.
right.
The
Right.
ones that have legs seem to have a really compelling story that come out of nowhere.
It come out of
Exactly.
nowhere.
What
Yes.
the hell? Nobody who thought this was going to be any good,
Yeah,
but it's just something about it, and it basically is the story. You begin to, in your heart, root for people and say,
right.
I want to see that happen, or I don't want to see that happen to that person, and it
Yeah,
did. And oh my God! And now look what's happening. They actually, there's a lot of texture through something, through the good things,
yeah,
Of wow, wow, it's horrible, but it's also wonderful because this is happening, and now it's not. That's it. It's
yeah,
the journey they take you on, and competent, I mean, really good filmmakers do that to you, no matter how old you are, how many things you've acted in,
hmm,
or whatever. You are a kid.
yeah.
Scorsese says that, I lost it at the movies.
It's the power of storytelling
Yeah,
that that's always gonna
exactly,
it's
exactly.
always gonna catch the spiritual connection with people no matter what. I mean, Marvel movies. I have a 5-year-old son, so he loves Marvel, and I watch it with him, and they're entertaining. They're sort of like TikTok. It's very, very fast.
Yeah,
There's
Yeah.
a lot going on. The
yeah,
story is very simplistic. They're the bad guys, they're the good guys. They're
yeah,
trying to destroy the world, and we're gonna save it.
yeah,
All right, and it's done really well as far as technology is concerned.
yeah,
But when you watch a film like something where you have two characters sitting at a booth having a deep conversation about something, And there's no beating that.
Right, right, and it's not just adult movies. I mean, people, if they take the time, they don't think, oh, that's going to be boring. They actually take the
Right.
time to listen.
Invest.
Like, I don't even remember My Dinner with Andre. It was a
Mhm.
movie a few years ago. Wallace Shawn and
Mhm.
Andre Gregory sat down and talked for, I think it was an hour and a half,
Wow.
Mhm.
and it was compelling. It was just,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
so interesting.
That's
Love
why
it.
these independent films, some of these independent films that come out that have stuff like that are sometimes more intriguing than a lot of these blockbusters.
Yeah.
I even get lost in them. And I'm not an actor or anything, but I just love getting lost in something like that because it's
Yeah.
compelling to me.
I actually, that's all. I guess that's all I can watch, but that's all that really draws me is
Mhm.
something that I can tell, either from press clips or reviews or something, is going to have that quality that
Yeah.
Yeah.
if I'm going to spend 2 hours of my life,
Right.
I've seen things blow up enough,
Right,
But,
exactly.
okay, you did it really well. Oh, you really blew that up well. What are you telling me about?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've seen cars flip 10 times before.
yeah, right. Hope the guy didn't get hurt. Probably didn't.
Probably not. He's got a little scar right here, which he's gonna sew up himself. And move on to the next scene.
Put your arm on. Yeah.
Well, Richard, I feel like we could probably go for another hour
Well, this is great.
talking film.
You guys are doing a great thing. It really is lovely to
Thank you.
I
give a
really appreciate.
journeyman actor a chance to sort of talk about his craft.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we love it, and we'd love
Yeah.
for you to come back. At some point, we can maybe actually dissect maybe like even a film. We love to do that. We love to talk about a
Sure.
particular film that we've all watched and really just dissect certain things about it as an actor and a storyteller on the
That'd
stage,
be great fun. That'd be
especially.
great fun. Yes,
I would love to do something like that in the
yeah,
future, soon in the future. That'd be
Absolutely.
fantastic.
please. But I'm actually, I got a gig. I'm going on the road for 10 months
Oh,
with the
Wow.
Broadway production of To Kill a Mockingbird, which is
Oh,
Wow.
wow. Fantastic.
yeah. I'm playing the Judge Taylor
Oh, look at
again.
Wow. Judge.
Great.
But it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be traveling to all the major cities. We're sitting down in San Francisco and then Washington and Chicago and LA for
Oh,
about
wow.
5 weeks each time. So
That is fantastic.
yeah, it should be good.
Wow.
I finished in December, so I'll be
Okay.
available.
Okay.
Actually, yeah. So that'd be great. And if we
Yeah,
could,
yeah, definitely. We'll definitely reach out to you and
sure.
set up that. We love it. Richard,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Just stay right there for 1 second. We're just gonna close out the show. We'll come right back. So give us 1 second, okay?
All right, guys. Thanks.
All right.
Thank you.
Wow.
Wow.
That was awesome.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
mean, just the insight and the sincerity and the how humble he is. You look at his resume and you're like, what? He's
Yeah.
so humble, and that's really what it takes to really impinge and really move an audience. That's what it takes. So
Definitely.
very excited. Thank you so much to Richard for being on the show. Definitely
Absolutely.
we'll try to have him back
Absolutely. It was an
again.
honor. It was an
He's
honor.
on the road, which
Yes.
is awesome. All right, folks. Thank you very much for tuning in. Appreciate it. We'll see you all again next Tuesday night, live right here at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And this is Counterparts for George Batista and John Henry Soto. Have a wonderful night. Take care. And as always, peace.
Peace.